I like looking at myself because I'm sexy. I mean, ask her.
Too sexy for my love. Too sexy for my love. Love's going to leave me.
Sorry. Okay.
All right, introduce the channel.
Greetings, everybody. This is FFB from the 50, broadcasting live from Lebanon, Ohio, the great city of Lebanon, Ohio.
We're not live.
Oh, we're not live.
We're
But
just recording.
Just
I don't trust to put you on here live.
Why not?
Went to college with you. I know better.
And we are sponsored and brought to you by JDP Media. Did I get that right?
You got that right.
Okay. There you go, Joe.
Joe, shout out. All right. So, hey, folks, I know you remember I've been here before with Adam and Teresa. We sat at the bar last time for our Barside Chats. Well, today we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to give out lumps of coal, and we're going to give out presents. And if you get a lump of coal, it means you suck. It means you stink. It means we got issues with you. But if we give out a gift, that means that we think you're doing something right. All right, folks, I'm going to let Adam go first because he has been plotting and planning this video. He's been looking forward to it. But before he does, make sure you guys go down to the comment section. Go down there and let us know who gets your lump of coals. Let us know who you're giving gifts out to. The regular season is all but over. Most leagues end in week 14. This is now week 1 of the playoffs. So here we go. By the way, while these two are talking, if I'm looking down at my computer, I do apologize. I'm sorry, not sorry. It's Thursday night. This video will probably come out Friday or Saturday. Thursday night football. I'm in playoffs. I've got 2 matchups going right now. And I've got a third one where the league hasn't quite finished yet. There is an outside chance I'm going to make the playoffs. So, of course, I'm very vested into this game tonight. So I'm going to let Adam and Teresa do a lot of talking. I'm going to watch some football. I'm just here to make this look good. But I do have some lumps of coal I want to give out in a present or two as well. So, Adam, I'm going to turn the floor over to you because you've been looking forward to this.
Well, what this is just like it's a nice cathartic release about anything football related, not football related, about the guy who cut you off in traffic, the movers that broke some of your stuff. It could be Tom Brady. No one is safe on this. We could call this, like, if you watch Seinfeld, this could be the Festivus airing of grievances. We have problems, and you're going to hear about them.
I have all kinds of problems, including 2 sitting right next to me right now. All right, Adam, first one up. What you got?
All right. I'm going to hand out my first lump of coal to people that veto trades.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
This is a humongous pet peeve of mine. I don't think I need to go in depth into this, except I think it just shows how butthurt other team players are when they don't like a trade. But then you also hear people saying, but this trade shows that there's collusion in the league. Okay, A, do you even know what collusion means? And B, if there is collusion, speak, these idiots shouldn't even be in the league in the first place. In the NFL, a trade is a strategic maneuver between 2 teams. And what you don't see is other teams poking their rear end into it. Don't veto trades. Here's your lump of coal.
Okay, I'm going to back you up on that because I've been involved in several trades that get vetoed. Happens every single year. I've said before on the channel here, so right now I'm a mortgage loan originator, but I used to be a realtor, so I negotiated for a living. And my ultimate goal is to never lose a trade. Now, if the trade works out for both sides, fantastic. If it works out for me, even better, right? So at the end of the day, we all pay our money because I only play mostly in money leagues, right? I'm in that one public league, Teresa, that you and I are in. But the leagues that I play in are money leagues, and if people are willing to pay their entry fee to do that. Now, Am I going to say that there hasn't been some really bad trades in the past? Absolutely. There have been some terrible trades. We do have family members, and I'm not even talking about you two. You know who I'm talking about. We're not going to mention names on here, who purposely stacked a team. We don't mention names when we'll give out props and we'll mention names for awesome things. We're not going to call out people, but that has happened in the past. There's been very few, but I would say maybe 1% of all trades ever in my history of doing this since 08, maybe 1%, 2% at most should have been vetoed. Now, I will say I have had trades that I have vetoed because both parties to the trade asked us to veto. So, they reached an agreement, they made the trade, and then new information came out, and the trade got vetoed because both parties said, okay, wait a minute, new information's come out, let's not do this. Case in point, we had one, I want to say it was back in 2011 or 12, where there was a two-team trade that involved 4 or 5 players, but one player on each of the teams that was being traded got hurt. Do you remember that? It was like, wait a minute.
Not
like,
off the top of my head, but...
Yeah,
I think so. I think I remember that.
It was in the new Rensselaer League, but it was in the first iteration of the new Rensselaer League.
Okay, yeah, I think I vaguely remember it.
And it was one of those where one player they made the trade, but the trade didn't go through because it was accepted on like Saturday, and we saw the Sunday slate, and you have the waiting period, right? And then those players got hurt on Sunday. One player going one way, one player going the other way. But I mean, it was one of those things where the owners wanted us to. There's a time and a place for those trades to be vetoed, but if it's just because you don't like the trade, tough nuts. I mean, sorry about your luck, but too bad. You're not involved in the trade. One of the things that really irritates me is when somebody calls me and complains, and I'm going to give out a lump of coal because I'm a commissioner. One of the things that really irritates me is when somebody calls and says, well, that trade's not fair. You need to step in and do something about that. I would have given them more for that than what they got. Okay, did you pick up the phone and try? Like, you can't sit there and say, that's a bad trade because that trade's lopsided. I would have given them more if you didn't even attempt the trade. Now, if you tried to do the trade and you offered them more and the other person denied it, maybe that's because they're not as high on your players as you are. And I'm sorry, but we're all allowed to have our opinions. We all go into the season, we do our own rankings. We never agree.
No.
We never agree. Our rankings are always different, and they always differ from what you see in the magazines and on the online sites. So, again, tough nuts. Teresa, what do you think?
I don't like being able to veto a trade.
Yeah, I mean...
If it's like that one situation where they said, hey, can you veto it so it doesn't go through because this happened or whatever. That's maybe not take that ability away just because there are incidents. Obviously, we've seen it doesn't happen very often, but no. I mean, how many trades have you and I tried to make that's been vetoed?
4 or 5 at
yeah.
least. And then Adam, you and I have had some trades. I've had trades vetoed with probably 8 different players. And maybe I'm so salty about this because I feel like typically any trade that I make or attempt to make are the ones that get vetoed. I mean, it just never fails. And wasn't it a couple years ago we played in the one league that we're not in anymore, they flat out said, we're going to veto any trade you make because we don't want you making trades. They flat out told me that. We're going to veto your trades. We don't want your team getting any stronger. You're already too good.
Yeah.
And, okay, now wait a minute. That's not what the veto is for. The veto is only there if you think the trade is lopsided and incredibly unfair. It doesn't matter whether or not you like it. That's not what the veto is for.
Right.
But I don't know what to do about that because, as a commissioner, I'm going to give out a lump of coal, okay?
Okay.
All right. Here's my lump of coal. As a commissioner of multiple leagues, my lump of coal is to all you people who out there in my leagues like to bitch and bellyache.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
You know why? Because we all pay our money to get in.
Mm-hmm.
We all have equal opportunities to trade. Sometimes you just have to pick up the phone. Mm-hmm. If you don't know the scoring settings, if you don't know the roster settings, that's nobody's fault but your own.
That's your fault.
Those things are all out there. So I really just don't have a whole lot in the way of patience for that. Okay, I'm going to let you guys talk because something here just happened. I got San Francisco's defense, so I'm going to go watch this beautiful play. Teresa, do you have a lump of coal to give out?
Dan Snyder.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
I don't say anything else.
No? But if you would like to elaborate, you can, because you know Dan Snyder way more than I do. I mean, I'm just a NFL fan, but you're an actual Washington fan. Ooh, yeah, Travis Homer definitely fumbled. It'd have been nice if he could have gotten that touchdown for me.
Yeah. There are no words.
No words.
I will add one little nugget on this. I think the thing that just absolutely blows my mind is they came out with this report, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, that Dan Snyder had promoted a very hostile work environment. Really? You don't say. And in other news, guess what?
Snow's cold?
Water's wet.
We're on the same
Dan Snyder promoted a hostile work environment? You don't say. Wow. Shocker.
Sorry, folks. Again, I'm watching the Thursday night football game here on my computer. I love having Amazon Prime. All right. So, yeah. Dan Snyder, shame on you. All right. Adam, you're up again.
Okay. I've got to make a little transition from football into baseball here. And I have to give out a humongous lump of coal to the Cincinnati Reds and the Castellini ownership.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
As you know, Dan, Teresa, the winter meetings concluded last week. And what did the Cincinnati Reds do? Pretty much what the Reds always do. Absolutely nothing. They are committed to the course of this supposed rebuild that seems like it's been happening since 2013 when they fired Dusty Baker. Still a huge mistake in my eyes. Mm-hmm. And when you think the Reds can't get any worse, they surpass it. And they trade away one of their better hitters, in Kyle Farmer, to Minnesota. Somehow, some way, the projected starting lineup for the 2023 season looks even worse than it did last season. Last season, Dan, Teresa, I predicted 100 losses. I predicted exactly 100 losses, and guess what? It happened.
You're right.
I was right. It's very possible I may predict 100 again, maybe even more for this coming season. And you know what's sad is the Reds fan mentality right now is if we get a good player, when is he getting traded? Which is sad. Most Reds fans, including me, are beyond angry because we realize we've been straight up hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived from the Castellini ownership and upper management because they flat out don't care about winning. Here's a lump of coal.
Got nothing to say. Teresa, do you have another lump of coal?
No, let Adam go on the rest of his tirade.
It's not much of a tirade.
I'm afraid the table and the microphone aren't going to make it if we don't calm him down a little bit. All right, well,
Said let him finish.
I was going to say, I'm going to scoot my chair over, but you go for it.
All right, I've got another lump of coal to hand out right now. And it's to whoever the morons at Yahoo that are in charge of the injury designations. This is beyond comical. Prime example. I'm gonna just say what happened to Deebo Samuel this past week. As you saw in the game, he got hurt. He was carted off. As soon as he gets carted off, I get an alert on my phone that Deebo Samuel's status was changed from healthy to questionable. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. He was carted off, but I don't see how he's questionable to come back in. I guess you could say he was out. And then, once it came through the TV that he was ruled out, I get the status on my phone saying his status has changed from questionable to out. Right after that game, a report came out saying that Deebo avoided a major injury with his ankle And that status instantly was changed from out to questionable. Look, if someone is out, keep his status out until the first practice of the week. And if that player takes part in it, it absolutely drives me up a wall when player statuses are changed from out to questionable at Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. in the morning when there's absolutely nothing whatsoever to support that. Here's your lump of coal.
Do you know why that bothers you and I so much, though?
Why?
Because we're two of the people that take advantage of that injury designation more than anybody else.
Yeah.
I know there's people that hate that we do that, so we get lumps of coals from other people for doing that. But hey, if it's within the rules and Yahoo allows it, then good on us for figuring that out.
Yes.
And shame on them.
Yes. True. That is true.
All right. I got a lump of coal. Okay? This is another one as a fantasy commissioner in multiple leagues. I have a lump of coal for anybody who does not pay their entry fee.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
And I'll tell you the biggest reason why. At the end of the season, I still have to pay out people who have won that money. So we pay out $40 every week for high score, and we pay out for first, second, and third places in our leagues. That money is still due. The pot's not full, which means now I'm out money myself. Although this year with 13 high scores alone, I think I'm going to be okay.
I think you'll be okay, but that's beside the point.
That's not the point. The point is now they're robbing my money. They're digging into my pocket for it. So yeah, I mean, as a commissioner, you're responsible for paying out those players that have earned that money. And if they come to me with their hand out at the end of the season for their money, for their payout, and I say, I'm sorry, I can't pay you because not everybody paid in, that is on me. That is on me. But here's the problem. Because we play in money leagues, we can't sit there and just quickly replace somebody on draft day. So a player shows up without their money. Do you know how hard it would be to sit there and say, well, I'm sorry, but you're out. Hey, let's grab another person who's willing to pay our entry fee that we pay. It's not like we can just reschedule our drafts. We have people that come from all over the country. This year we had you guys come from Ohio. We had John come from Utah. I mean, we have people that literally travel hundreds, if not thousands of miles round trip to come to the draft. We can't just reschedule, and we can't just replace because it's a money league. It's hard to find people who are willing to do that. Show up with your money because at the end of the year, I still have to pay out. And if you're not paying in, it comes out of my pocket. So that's a lump of coal.
That is a big lump of coal.
So, yep. I got another one. And then I can be done handing out coal and just give the floor over to you two. Is it okay if I finish real quick?
Please.
All right. Hey, NFL, I don't know if it's you mandating these things or if it's truly the officials on the field, but the officiating this year sucks. Here's your lump of coal.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
It has been absolutely painful watching some of these games.
Very.
I have no clue what a penalty is or isn't. And I've seen some of these hits on the quarterback that are above the knees, below the neck, where they didn't even land with their full body weight on the quarterback, and they're still getting penalized. Some of these pass interference calls are ridiculous. Some of these defensive holding calls are preposterous. I'm sorry, if I do this to you right now for like a split second, if you're an NFL wide receiver and you can't break out of that and complete your route if it's real short like that, go back to NCAA.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, there's exceptions. There are holds that should be called. There are pass interferences that should be called. There are roughing the passer penalties that should be called. But it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know about you, but watching these games, it's like, I feel like every other play, you're either watching out for an injury or watching out for a flag. It's made it almost unwatchable. Too many interruptions in the game. I'm not there to watch the officials. I'm there to watch the action on the field. And what used to be considered good, sound technique is now flagged.
Nope.
That's insane. I understand wanting to protect the players. I really do. I'm on board with the concussion protocols for the most part. I get it. But at the same time, football is a violent sport. You cannot mandate and dictate the violence out of football. If you're going to do that, the game is going to end. I get player safety. I want player safety. I played football. I broke my elbow. I had to stop. I get player safety. But at the same time, some of these calls are atrocious. Absolutely horrible. And I, honest to God, think it's for two reasons. Number one, the money that they're paying these quarterbacks, right? No owner wants to invest 100, 200, 300 million dollars guaranteed money into these quarterbacks. I get that. But I also think it's the NFL wants high scoring games. Because that's sexy. It's like everybody likes the home run in baseball.
Yeah.
They want these high scoring games. Well, they made it basically impossible for the defenses to do their thing. So NFL officials, and again, I don't even always blame the officials on the field. I mean, they're given mandates. They're being told. How bad is it that every year in the preseason they're told to specifically look out for something?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, guys. NFL officiating, you suck. Here's your lump of coal.
Okay.
All right, what you guys got?
Teresa, you go next.
Nope, I don't have any.
You don't have any.
Yeah.
Well,
I know you have enough, so just go.
Here we go, folks. Here we go.
I've got problems, and you're going to hear about it. All right. My next lump of coal is going to go out to anyone that was involved with the T. Higgins injury situation, but not T. Higgins himself.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
This past week, it was almost like deja vu, like what happened with week 5. Higgins gets limited practices Wednesday and Thursday, gets a full practice Friday. He is active for the game, but then lo and behold, he only sees a few offensive snaps. Now, week 5, he didn't even see the field. The only reason he saw the field in week 14 was because he snuck out onto the field for a couple of snaps from what I heard. And it came out that he had tweaked his hamstring, which was what he was questionable for going in to the game, why he was having those limited practices. He apparently tweaked his hamstring during warm-ups. Okay. If that was the case, don't you feel some kind of obligation to report that? And I'm not blaming Higgins for anything. Again, he tried to get on the field himself. He snuck out onto the field, and the coaching staff told him to get back onto the sideline. And the problem is, though, this has happened twice now. And as much as I love what the Bengals are doing, I think the mess of handling this injury situation starts with Zach Taylor himself. Here's your lump of coal, Mr. Taylor.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
My next lump of coal is going to go out to anybody that ats the players on Twitter or any other kind of social media for not performing up to their expectations for your fantasy team. I don't do that. I personally don't do that. If you haven't already figured it out, a majority of players in the NFL don't care about your fantasy team. See Devontae Smith and Cordarrelle Patterson. Now, there are some players that do, like Austin Eckler. I got him on a team that I'm trying to defend this on. He cares. I've seen Derrick Henry promote fantasy football. I've seen Justin Jefferson promote fantasy football. But personally, getting after the players for not performing well doesn't solve anything. It just shows that you're taking this game that we're supposed to enjoy way too seriously. Well, what should I do if I get... Well, who should I be pissed at for losing and missing the playoffs? Well, who set the lineup and hit the submit button? You. Take responsibility for your actions and just don't at the players. It doesn't solve anything. Sit back, relax, look on to next year. Go to the gym, hit a punching bag, release your anger that way. Have a drink, even. Just don't at the players. Don't even at the fantasy analysts, because all they do is take the information and they analyze it. They're not experts. There are no fantasy experts by any means of the imagination. This is supposed to be a fun game. If you attack the players, if you attack the fantasy analysts, that means you're taking it way too seriously. Here's a lump of coal.
You're a mean one,
That reminds me of
Mr. Grinch.
Remember in Signs when he goes, everybody just needs to calm down and eat some fruit. Do you remember that?
I do not
The
remember that.
dad, the one that Mel Gibson plays.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says that. I watched that video.
When did he say that?
Oh gosh, it was. They were all fired up about something.
That's enough from Dr. Bamboo for now. Everybody in this house needs to calm down and eat some fruit or something.
So, but hey, you know what? You actually just brought up. Can I go? Because you just reminded me of another lump of coal that just really. This is a funny one because talk about taking the game too serious. There is. I have a lump of coal. So here's my lump of coal. I have no problem with trash talking. I really don't. I choose not to do it because I feel like karma always comes back and bites me, and I feel like in fantasy football it's completely ridiculous. And I'm about to tell you why. But for all of you sincere, terrible trash talkers, I got a problem with you. Here's your lump of coal.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
And here's why. Who's out on the field? It's not us.
No.
It's the players, right?
Mm-hmm.
It always cracks me up when a fantasy football player is like, oh, I'm going to kick your... You know what?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
No, you're not. You're not the one on the field. You're literally at the mercy of these guys. And I don't want to give John too much credit. He talks about luck quite a bit, but... Okay, so fantasy football is kind of interesting and unique in a couple different ways. Number one, we're not the coaches, so we don't even get to decide what actually happens. We're not the players out on the field doing what the coaches call. And in fantasy football, we don't play defense. Right?
Nope.
Literally, we're just hoping to outscore the other player, but you have no control how many points your opponent's going to score. We had a matchup earlier this year, Wilson and I, where he scored 170 in a heads-up matchup, and I scored 172.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So there's nothing he could do to stop me from scoring 172. There's nothing I could do to stop him from scoring 170. You just hope that what you do is enough. Now, there is some skill and talent. You have to analyze data, and that's part of the reason I love fantasy football. And it makes it more interactive. I just love football, period. It makes it more interactive. That's why I enjoy it so much. But to sit there and get too low on yourself or your team, or to get too high with the trash talking, that's equally as crazy as what you're talking about with people adding anybody. It's a made-up game. It's fantasy football, not real football.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't do anything. Now, you did analyze data and whatnot, but you have to count on the coaches calling the players. You have to count on the players making a play. You have to count on the players being healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And none of those things are within our control. We analyze the data the best we can, but trash talking in fantasy football, completely ridiculous. And I'll tell you the one thing I really hate, and I don't know that I've ever really talked about this much, I really hate trash talking at the fantasy football drafts. Oh, you took that guy too soon. If you go back to the videos that I produced before the season started, I flat out said, if you are passionate about a player, you take that player, because we've said it many times.
Yep.
We all have different rankings.
Yes.
You were higher on Gabriel Davis than most of us this year.
Oh, yeah.
You took him before I would. You had you paid your money to do the draft. You had every right to take him where you took him, and you were allowed to be as high on him as you wanted to be. There are players that I was not high on. Christian McCaffrey, one of them, because of the injury history. Saquon Barkley, they performed really well this year, right? But we all have the right, as long as you're paying your money, you're entering the league, you have the right to take whatever player you want, whenever you want, and you don't deserve to be mocked and ridiculed.
Right.
Because at the draft, it's not trash talk. It is mocking and ridiculing.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're calling out somebody's intelligence or lack thereof, right? You're not the one on the field. You're not the coach calling the plays. You have no control over player health. You've paid your money. You have the right to take the player you want. You're allowed to think as freely as you want in this game. That's what makes it great. We all come in with different opinions. At the end of the day, we see who's right, who's wrong. But that's not always the case either. Like in your guys' league, I drafted a really good team. I got 3 guys out for the season, and the guys that are still playing have all missed multiple games with the exception of one guy.
Yeah.
So, like, you do the best you can, but nobody should be mocked and ridiculed. So if your trash talking goes from being fun and crosses that line, you suck just as much as the NFL and their officials do. So, if you're one of those idiotic trash talkers, if it crosses over from trash talking to being a complete asshole, you deserve a lump of coal and a swift kick in the ass. Here's your lump of coal.
You're a mean
How about
one,
that for a rant?
Mr. Grinch.
Nice.
All right,
I like it.
you're up.
I like it. Well, so you were talking about the fantasy football draft. I've got another lump of coal that I want to hand out that happens usually around draft time, and it is for anybody that backs out of a fantasy football draft last minute. There have been, and I'm saying this as a former commissioner, this is why I stopped being a commissioner, because I was dealing with this problem.
Okay.
There have been instances, sometimes hours before draft time, you get a text message from a league player saying they can't be in the league anymore this year, and that leaves the commissioner scrambling to find a replacement. Now, I get it. Okay, life happens. We're talking about fake football versus real life. But getting a draft time, date, location, and verbal commitments from all the league mates is stressful enough as it is. Now you're just going to add to the stress by saying you're out. My honest opinion, if you're going to back out of a league, do it at least a week before draft time.
2 weeks.
2 weeks before draft time, and then you are responsible for finding your replacement, not the commissioner. Here's a lump of coal.
You're a mean one,
Just for
Mr.
that,
Grinch.
I'm giving you a present.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I'm going to back you up on that. As a commissioner, it is so hard to try to corral 10 to 12 working adults who have kids, have lives outside of this. One thing that really burns me up is my drafts are always the second Saturday in August.
They are.
It is always the same week, every single year, the second Saturday in August. And I send out reminders starting in, June? The 1st of June. It's not even mid-June or late June.
Usually the 1st of June.
1st of June, reminding everybody, hey, second Saturday in August is draft. Now, I know that's early, but then, we get further in with school. My wife's a teacher. The kids are going back to school. It gets a little bit harder. So it is early. I don't like having the draft that early, but, we've had, maybe one preseason game.
Yeah.
So more injuries happen. But, I mean, it's so hard. And we just talked about that a little bit ago, and especially in a money league. It's hard to find people because we don't have a small buy-in. If we're paying out decent money every single week for high score, and we have decent pots at the end for first, second, and third place, it takes commitment. And there's a lot of people out there that are diehard fantasy football players, but for that kind of money that we pay, right?
Our fantasy football players right here. We live and breathe it.
Obviously, this is a passion for us, but it's really hard to find somebody that's willing to play on such short notice, whose schedule is also open and available, who's willing to pay that money. It's not a free league, and we do live drafts. We all get together, which makes it even harder.
Yeah.
It's not like you can sit there, on your computer from wherever you're at and just do the draft. We do live drafts. So that makes it tough. So 100% agree with you. 100%. As a commissioner, that is one of the things that makes me salty. There's a lot of things about being a commissioner that makes me salty, but that's one of them.
Yep.
Takes a lot of time and effort to coordinate.
Yeah.
It is a thankless job. And it's so funny because Michael Fabiano actually talked about that today. I'm going to give out another present. I gave you a present for saying that.
Okay.
I'm going to give out another present. This present is to all of you fantasy football commissioners out there. Teresa, I know you're a fantasy football commissioner who put up with the stress of coordinating not just the draft, but trying to get the players in there, making sure everything's put in the computer, coordinating the draft, whether it's live or online, making sure the results are correct, making sure that you do the best you can to collect the funds that you can, holding on to those funds, dispersing those funds. Kittle just got a second touchdown of the game. I'm sure Jordan, who's been on this show, Jordan, shout out to you. I know you were bragging earlier that you started Kittle, so shout out to you. There's his second touchdown. Hopefully that means you and I will see each other in the championship game, but I need a lot to go my way for that to happen, but it's a good start for you. But yeah, shout out to all the commissioners because they're the ones that have to listen to the bitching and belly aching that goes on, all the griping. People complaining they don't like the trades. People complaining that people just like to complain.
They like to complain.
So huge present to you guys and gals. The amount of patience it takes to do that, the amount of effort that goes into it. I don't think most people in the leagues understand that unless they are a commissioner or have been a commissioner. So huge kudo to you, all of you who are commissioners. It is not an easy job, especially this year. And while I'm at it, I'm going to give some more presents because I feel like being Santa Claus. I'm going to give one more. I'm going to hold on to some until the end because I want to end this on a positive note. And I know you got some more lumps of coal to give out. So I do want to give out a present to Yahoo.
Santa Claus is coming to town. Gather round.
And a lot of the fantasy football formats are changing up the playoff settings, the potential playoff settings. So I don't know if you've been keeping up on this or not. But I've talked a lot about the Stooges, who is in the new wrestler league that I'm in. I'm just pulling up the standings here. So the Stooges ended the season in 8th place. Then in the consolation bracket, the Stooges is only one of 2 teams that have scored over 2,000 points this year. I scored 2,126. Stooges scored 2,039.42. So even though Stooges has the second most points, they're in 8th place because they've also had 2,115 points.
Ouch.
Scored against them, which is by far and away the most. It's the most by almost over 200 points, and is over or almost 300 points more than what was scored against me. So, what a lot of these places are doing is they're saying, "Hey, these we understand these head-to-head matchups are fun and important, but so are points." So, a huge kudos to the reimagining of fantasy football and how we make the playoffs. So, hey. Gift to you, and I'm going to explain to you here in just a second what that entails. And I'm going to want you to go down to the comment section and take part in a poll. So I'm going to ask a question. I want you to go down there. I want you to give me your 2 cents worth on this. So before we do, hey, present to all of you reimagining it.
Santa Claus is coming to town. Gather round.
Okay, so here's kind of the push. Here's what's happening. They want the head-to-head matchups to matter. So the first seed and the second seed will be the 2 teams in the league with the best record with the points as the tiebreaker in case there's a tie. But the third and fourth team will be the 2 teams that have the most points regardless of record.
The third and the fourth?
The third and the fourth seed.
Oh, okay.
So the first and second seed will be determined based upon record. The third and fourth seed will be based upon points. And the whole point in that is it is important to win your head-to-head matchups. But in fantasy football, and Fabiano talked about this today too, you don't play defense. There's nothing that I can do to stop my opponent from scoring, whereas a real football team can. You play offense, defense, special teams. In fantasy football, you're essentially just playing offense.
Right.
Like you can't control how many points your opponents are scoring. You just hope and pray that you score more than them. But you do have that situation. So this takes luck out of the picture a little bit. And so the first seed is whoever has the best record. The second seed is whoever has the second best record. And then the third and fourth seed are just truly and strictly determined based upon points.
Now, is that the default setting for next year? Or?
It is not a setting yet. It is in the works, and it would not be default.
Okay.
The league would have to vote on it, and we'd have to decide.
Okay.
But it's, to me as a commissioner, it is refreshing to see that people are recognizing this issue. Because this is huge. Like, honestly, the Stooges should not be 5-9.
I agree.
Tony played his heart out. He had a terrific draft. He's got the second most points, but he
ran into a buzzsaw offensive with his opponents. Yeah.
So if I counted this correctly, Tony has 1 high score. He's in 8th place. He's had 1 high score, but he's had 3 times where he's had the second highest score in the league and lost.
Yeah.
So,
ouch. That hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts.
It's just been a brutal year for him, but this would take that away. So in this, I would be the number 1 seed. John would still be the number 2 because he would have the tiebreaker over Jordan. But then Tony would be the 3 seed. Now, obviously, if you are in first place and you have the most points, then you can't be the number 1 seed and the number 3 seed. So, let's say the first and second have the most points and the second most points. It would go to whoever had the third and fourth most points. So it's whoever has the most points remaining out of the remaining teams that don't have the 2 best records.
Got it.
Okay. So in this case, it would be me and John, because John has the third most points. He would win the tiebreaker over Jordan, even though they have the same record. Tony would be the 3 seed, and then actually Ryan would be the 4 seed.
Yeah.
Just based upon points, and Jordan would be out.
Got it.
The fact that Jordan, and this is no knock on Jordan, but the fact that Jordan has the 4th fewest points in the league, but is the 3rd seed, Do you see where this is coming into play? So this is a reimagining. So the two best records automatically make it in, and then the two players remaining after that with the highest point totals also make it into the playoffs, and that would be your 4 seeds.
Got it.
And that still prioritizes winning those heads-up matchups, but it makes points more important. And I know that's something that would make John happy because that's always been one of his complaints.
Yeah.
Like, it's absolutely horrendous that you can have 170 points and lose to somebody who scored 172 when the league average for that week was 138.
Yeah.
Right? So I get where he's coming from. So this is the best of both worlds. So huge present to anybody out there that's reimagining the scoring. I think it's absolutely fantastic. I think that is something that will eventually take over. Fabiano said it the absolute best on a show this afternoon. Football, you have offense, defense, and special teams. In fantasy football, you have offense.
Yeah.
Right.
Like your defense, you're not actually able to stop your opponent from scoring any points. You just have to pray that you score more on offense.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
I like that. I like that reimagining.
Yeah.
And what we could do too is just go, and extend it out to the 15th week. I'm not a fan of that because I don't like to have to try to figure out who's starting and who's not starting for the championship game.
Mm-hmm.
But also make it that the 2 players with the best record get a bye weeks for the first week, and then 4 people with the high points make it in after that.
So you're thinking maybe have 6 teams make it the playoffs?
That's what some leagues are going towards.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Because what it all boils down to is we don't want it to be a game that's strictly based upon luck. And if you look at what happened to Tony, now the fact that this is going to sound terrible. This is not hubris. This is not pride. The fact that I'm the number 1 seed with the best record and the most points makes sense. But for the Stooges, it doesn't make sense because Tony has the second most points, but he's 5-9 on the season. Mm-hmm. That is bad luck.
That is bad luck.
That is bad luck. So a huge kudos and present to anybody out there that's trying to reimagine and trying to level that playing field. I think that's fantastic. There's no doubt that luck plays an element into this. Player health, player safety, coaches calling your players making the play when they're called upon. Obviously there's some of those things that go into it. I think this would help even that out.
I agree.
So I think that's amazing.
Yep.
Okay, you're up.
Do you have anything, Teresa?
No, go ahead.
By the way, DK just got a catch.
Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. All right, I got to give a lump of coal out to Amazon Prime for these Thursday night football games.
Smart business.
You're a mean one,
Okay,
Mr.
so
Grinch.
Teresa and I, we do not have Amazon Prime. Now, we did watch the Thursday night football game when the Bengals played the Dolphins. That was the one that Tua got knocked out with a concussion, and we were able to watch it because it was broadcasted locally. Like I said, we don't have Amazon Prime. We don't use it enough to pay for it. And I'd like to believe there's a lot of other people out there in that same kind of situation. And then plus also, when you look at the games that have been on the Thursday night slate, this one kind of is a little bit of an exception right now. Because currently right now the 49ers are up 21-3. But some of these games, the total hasn't even cracked like 35 points. They're boring. Beyond boring. And personally, I think the Thursday night football game in general should just be done away with. Add another game to Sunday. Keep the Monday night football game, but get rid of the Thursday night football game because the majority of the time, now there are some exceptions to the rule, like the very first game of the season when the Super Bowl champion plays somebody on their home field, like the Rams played the Bills in LA this year. Keep that game. That's fine. You can have that be your Thursday night, your NFL season opener. But get rid of the rest of the Thursday night football games because usually they're low scoring. And from a fantasy perspective, you only really get 1, maybe 2 fantasy stars out of that whole thing. Sometimes you don't even get any. And it's hard on the players. They get limited rest. They have to start practicing Monday, I believe. So just get rid of the Thursday night football game in general. Here's a lump of coal.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I understand football is great, but see, this to me is the same argument that I have about not extending the fantasy football league to the 15th week. There's some times where it's just kind of a moot point. I don't want to be in a fantasy football matchup when nobody's producing, right? And it's basically the same. It's almost unwatchable.
Right.
Oh, DK with another catch.
Oh.
Sorry, folks. Adam and Teresa, do you have DK going
Yeah.
too? All right, these two have DK going. So anytime they do stats and whatnot, I want to make sure we're keeping them.
I got Brandon Ayuk going too, and he hasn't done a whole lot, but he's done something.
Let's hope that keeps up, because I'm not facing Adam, but in another league I'm in, Ayuk's going against me in the playoffs. I've got San Francisco's defense. They're doing pretty good. But, for me, it is player safety. You're absolutely right. They don't have the time for the rest and recoup. I understand that some teams, they kind of like it because it gives them the mini bye. Mm-hmm. But if you want to introduce more football, I don't know about you, but there's something really cool about those early morning games in London or in Germany.
Yes, I like those.
If you want to get an extra game on TV, on national TV, sack for San Fran's defense, just took them out of field goal range. If you want to get that on there, put an early game on Sunday. Mm-hmm. I understand not wanting to compete with college football on Saturday nights. That's when a lot of the big matchups happen. I get that. But yeah, instead of doing that, either do another early morning game on Sunday, or have 2 Sunday night football games. I wouldn't want to mess with Monday night. No. But have 2 Sunday night football games. There's really no reason you can't, because the NFL is spread out all across the country. You can have an early game on the East Coast, like a 5 o'clock Sunday night kickoff. That would overlap into some of the games in the afternoon slate. I get that, but not by much.
Right.
And then have a later West Coast game
with
the kickoff. There's always games on both coasts. There's ways of getting that extra game on TV, and that's what it's all about, is making money, the ad revenue for the NFL. But there's ways that you can do that in a way that is safer for these players as far as the recovery time, gives the coaches more time to game plan, so the game is more interesting. I'm 100% on board. Kudos to you again for another good one. I'm agreeing with almost every single one of your points so far.
Oh, you're going to love the next one.
All right, let's hear it. I want to hear it.
All right. I have to hand out a lump of coal to Roger Goodell for having the stupid overtime rule during the regular season. It's like the game will end even if we have to go to sudden death, and that's just dumb. I'm sorry. A game should not end in a tie. So far this year we've had 2. We've had Indy and Houston week 1, and then we just recently had another one with your Commanders and the Giants. And you could just see, I saw the ending of the Commanders and the Giants game. And when people were just walking out on the field when the game was done, it was like everybody was just, okay, we just played you. Okay, nice. There was no enjoyment on it whatsoever. Mm-hmm. What my proposition is, what they should do is, not really so much like what they do in college football, starting on the opposing team's 20-yard line. But after the overtime period is over, and yes, whoever scores a touchdown first, yes, that ends the game. But if overtime ends, then what they should do is do another coin flip, and then that team that wins the coin flip starts at midfield. Mm-hmm. And then you still have, your 10-yard downs and everything like that. And then if they score a touchdown, fine. And they can kick the field goal too. But then the opposing team gets a chance to score as well. And if they fail to score, then the other team wins. Okay? But either way, get rid of the overtime rule where the game ends in a tie. Fans hate it. And it doesn't even help the record. It's just that game is just right there. That's all it is. Mm-hmm. So, Roger Goodell, here's your lump of coal for not changing this stupid overtime rule. You've changed it for the playoffs, but for some reason, you won't change it for the season. Here's a lump of coal.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
I have some solutions for overtime rules. I think we can draw from soccer, the sudden death shootout thing.
I'll be honest with you, I don't really watch a whole lot of soccer, so you're gonna have to break it down to layman's terms for me.
So here's my, because basically it comes down to field goals anyway, right? I feel like the end of the games.
Yeah.
So each team starts with their kicker on the 10-yard line, and then the 20-yard line. They go back and forth until somebody misses a kick. Or if you really want to make it fun, you give it dodgeball rules.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Hear me out on this, because this could be fun. You take all the fat linemen like me. You stick them in the end zone. You take the opposing quarterback, stick them on the 10-yard line, and you play dodgeball. And if those linemen can catch the ball, they get to stay in. They eliminate.
But what does that do from a fantasy standpoint?
Dude, you can't tell me you wouldn't love to sit there and watch Josh Allen throwing rockets at offensive linemen.
Oh, yeah, okay, I would like that.
Dude,
I would like that.
That's entertainment value.
That's entertainment. That is entertainment. That's entertainment.
Yeah, just imagine the fat offensive lineman either trying to catch a rocket from only 10 yards, well, possibly 20 if they're in the back of the end zone, from either trying to catch a rocket from Josh Allen or trying to dodge it. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. They can't catch it. They can only dodge.
Oh.
Dude, could you imagine? Man, that would be fun.
Oh, let's add a snowstorm. Let's add a snowstorm.
Hey, that sounds even
like
better.
that's what's going to be in Buffalo this weekend.
Or you put a slip and slide starting at the 50-yard line, and you see which guys can go the farthest down the field. Like, the Bears game against the 49ers, week 1 in the monsoon.
Yep.
I can't say what I was about to say.
Oh.
Something about cheerleaders and slip and slides.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Probably not a good idea. What I was gonna say is
I get the concept.
Actually, I don't think you do because my mind's not as dirty as yours.
Oh.
What I was thinking is,
I don't know
when the
about
players run on the field, they got the cheerleaders. Like you could literally have the cheerleaders up and down the slip and slide as the guys are sliding down it. That'd be so funny. Don't you think so?
My wife is right here. I'm not gonna say anything.
You went to a different place than I did. So, I think that'd be funny. Yeah, the overtime rules. I feel like college football has it so much better than
They
the
do.
NFL.
They definitely do.
But you know what? You know why the NFL won't just adopt that? Because they can never admit that college is doing something better than them.
Right.
But that is the case.
Right.
So. All right, what else you got?
So, you know how we said at the beginning of this segment that nobody is safe. I'm going to completely get out of the sports world, and I'm going to give out a lump of coal to anyone that says, since we are in the holiday season, right here, anyone that says Die Hard is not a Christmas movie. It's a Christmas movie. It's one of the best Christmas movies out there. It takes place during Christmas time. You hear Christmas carols in it. It's got all the Christmas stuff in it. In fact, it is top 5. It's not number 1. It's top 5. Christmas. It's one of the top 5 Christmas movies of mine. And don't try and get me to change my mind because I'm not going to. It's a Christmas movie. Even though Bruce Willis came out, I think a couple of years ago and said it wasn't a Christmas movie, I'm still calling it a Christmas movie because I can. So here's a lump of coal.
You're a mean one,
There's actually
Mr. Grinch.
against Die Hard being a Christmas movie.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
Okay,
I'm sure there's all kinds of arguments out there for it not being a Christmas movie.
One of the arguments that I heard one time that was kind of cracked me up was there was too much violence in it. Christmas is all about loving and caring and kindness and compassion. It's violent. I said, have you ever watched Home Alone?
Yeah. Well, I believe they just came out with another movie called Violent Night.
Gremlins?
Yeah.
Some violence and Gremlins. Oh, Gremlins. I love it. I just watched Gremlins with my oldest daughter. Maddie, shout out to you. I told Mom we watched. So.
And then, okay, so one of the other arguments that I hear saying, well, is Die Hard 2 a Christmas movie? Because it takes place at the airport during Christmas time. And then plus also a lot of these like horror movies and stuff like that. Yeah, sure, they can be Christmas movies, but you know why you don't hear people talking about them? Because they suck. That's why you don't hear people not saying anything about them. But Die Hard, very good movie. It's a Christmas movie. You will not change my mind.
I've known you for years. I wouldn't even try.
Good.
What else you got?
Okay, before I get into this last one, I'm going to ask Teresa, do you have any more lumps of coal or any presents you want to give out?
No.
Dan?
I have gifts, but I want to save it for the end.
Okay.
Because I want to end this on a positive note.
Okay. I saved this lump of coal very last because it's something that's really, really been bothering me. And if you follow me on Twitter, I've actually been saying some stuff about this the last couple of weeks. And this lump of coal is to any college football player that is skipping their bowl game to prepare for the NFL.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Now, I guess I understand the business sense and not wanting to get hurt in what would be supposedly a meaningless game. And unfortunately, college football did this to themselves when they introduced the playoff format. And they added a whole bunch of other bowl games. Dan, can you take a guess and tell me how many college football games there are this year? Just throw out a number, and I'll tell you higher or lower.
Overall games for the entire
The
season?
entire college
across
bowl
all
game,
of Division One.
across all of Division.
Well, just bowl games.
Just the actual bowl games themselves that take place during December into the new year. Rose Bowl, Orange Bowl,
All the way down to the small minor
Cheez-It Bowl, Mayo Bowl, whatever they're called now. How many do you think there are? Throw out a number and I'll tell you higher or lower.
55.
Okay, not that many. Lower.
40.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. There is 40 friggin' bowl games. Now, unfortunately, this issue probably isn't going to go away until the college football playoff is expanded. And I believe they are expanding the playoff, but I'm not 100% sure if that's even going to solve the problem.
No,
It
I
might.
think it's
It
gonna
might.
I think it's going to make it worse.
But when a player chooses to sit out of their last game of the season, that shows they care more about themselves than their teammates. In my opinion, in my honest opinion, it's a selfish move. Football is a game of risk and injury. I mean, who's to say you don't get injured on your very first play in a preseason game on an NFL field? God forbid, career-ending injury. And in my eyes, you're letting down your teammates, your coaches, the fans, and in some cases, the alumni that assisted you in getting to where you are now. And coaches and students may say they accept and support it, but that doesn't mean I have to accept and support it. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to give a lump of coal to you. There you go. And you're not going to, and I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to change my mind on this. My mind is set.
Okay, I'm not going to try to change your mind. I'm going to play the other side of this.
Okay.
Okay. So I understand where you're coming from, but when they're looking at the potential millions of dollars of earnings, I think expanding the playoffs is going to make it worse because you're actually introducing more games, not fewer. If you wanted to fix this, I think the first way to fix this already took place with the name and likeness rules that have taken place because now these college players can make money. Mm-hmm. Okay. I would tweak the name and likeness rule to say if your team is bowl eligible, you have to play in that bowl in order to be eligible for these payouts.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Okay, so I think there's an easy way to fix it. I think the college players getting paid now for that, I think that's beneficial because now they can get paid even as college players for the efforts that they're putting on the field. As an athlete or as a former athlete, hang on, I got to read this too. Yeah. As a former athlete, I know what it feels like to get hurt and not be able to play again because that's exactly what happened to me.
Right. Okay.
Now, having said that, would I do that? No, I would. But I was never put in a position where I was, out there to lose millions of dollars.
Right.
I was a little high school podunk football player.
Right.
It's a really easy thing to say from the comfort of my couch. I'm not going to judge the athletes. I do think if they're going to accept money from the name and likeness for their college play, then that's how you fix this situation.
Right.
If you are signing up for this, then you need to complete your season. But let's make no mistake. These players are out there. Some of these players are out there with aspirations of making it to the NFL. They're not out there for that college degree. They're there to play college football to move on to the next level. And if they can achieve that, and that's their one shot at life to being successful.
Let me just throw this scenario out there with you. Okay. And I only know this because one of my coworkers actually told me because he feels the same way I do about it. Mm-hmm. And in his eyes, so usually, let's just say you're a star running back, you're a star wide receiver, a star quarterback.
Okay.
Most of the time, you're going to get some kind of scholarship to play at college. Usually. That's usually the way it goes. Like, say, for example, if, I don't know if he did, but let's just say Saquon Barkley, when he was at Penn State. Mm-hmm. And I'm pretty sure they got him there with some kind of scholarship or financially. They might have, they might not have. I don't know. But let's just say a star running back gets a scholarship, a full ride scholarship to play football at this university.
Okay.
They decide to forego their senior year, skip their bowl game, and go into the NFL.
Okay.
Do you think then, since they skipped their senior year, they should owe back that money?
No, because that's not how scholarships work.
Okay.
In scholarships, if you're given a full ride as a college athlete, that scholarship has to be renewed every single year. That scholarship is only for 1 year.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so when if you get 4 years, that's because the college has renewed you for 4 years. So if you skip your senior year, you don't get that scholarship to begin with.
Okay.
So yeah, that's one of those things where, knowing a little bit more about the behind the scenes stuff that most of us don't know. Most of us don't know that, but those scholars. If I come to you and I say I'm giving you a full ride scholarship, you're not guaranteed that for all 4 years. That scholarship can be taken away from you and awarded to somebody else.
Gotcha.
The other thing that's important to note is each team is only allowed to give out so many dollars worth of scholarships, so they have to be careful who they give it to. So, like even on Alabama, not all those guys are playing there on a free ride. So there's guys that are playing there that get drafted to the NFL that have to pay for the first 2 years before they may get that scholarship in their junior year and finally make it to the pros.
Got it. Okay.
So, but I mean, if you want to tie it to, hey, we're giving you a scholarship full ride for this year, that's another way that you could fix it, just like the name and likeness. If you're tying financial compensation in there, whether it's in the form of education or if it's in the form of payouts, that's how you fix the problem.
Got it.
But at the same time, I can't blame these kids for not wanting to risk millions of dollars. I mean, it would be no different than somebody comes up to you and says, hey, if you're still alive tomorrow, I'm going to pay you $1 million. You're not going to leave your house that day and go skydiving.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got to be smart about it too. So I get where they're coming from. I'm a little bit more lenient as a former athlete to that. But I also see where it's an issue. You make a commitment, you need to fill that commitment out. I think the transfer portal is taking care of a lot of those issues. I think a lot of it could be fixed with the name and likeness. You could also tie the bowl eligibility or playing in a bowl if you're bowl eligible to your scholarship. There's ways of fixing it. Those ways have been there. The scholarship thing, as far as getting that and having to play in a bowl, that's been on the table for years. It just takes a school to actually go out and say that. But here's the thing too, and here's the big kicker. A lot of these guys that go on to play college athletes, go on from college athletes into the NFL, make millions of bucks, donate a lot of that money back to the school. So they want to take those guys off.
Gotcha.
Like Chase Young, I guarantee you he's giving money back to Ohio State in the form of donations.
All right.
He wouldn't be able to donate those funds towards future scholarships or as a booster. He wouldn't be able to do that if he wasn't in the NFL. So it's more complex than just simply stating you made a commitment. You need to play out that commitment. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. Oh my gosh, there's 4 flags.
Just about every ref threw a flag out.
Nobody's got any handkerchiefs left. So I see what you're saying. I'm not going to argue with you, but I think there's more to it than what you're realizing.
Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you for giving me some clarity on that.
Yep.
I am now done with my lumps of coal handing out. I'm going to try and think of some gifts to hand out, but I know you have some.
I have some. I actually got some big ones. So the first gift I want to hand out is to this lovely beard. I mean, this thing is just glorious. I hope that's coming across well. It's just beautiful. A little bit of white right here. Perfect for Christmas, right? So, I don't normally grow facial hair, but I did No Shave November. And then I get to play Santa Claus at our office when we do that because I got the belly that jiggles like a bowl full of jelly. So, this is actually kind of like Velcro. It helps hold the Santa beard on there. Of course, if I dyed it white, I might not even need that. But glorious beard. Got to give myself a gift for this. I've never had one like this before. I mean, you even mentioned it. What's with the beard?
Yeah, I did.
Man, that's just, I love it. And I don't think you've seen it because I've been so under the weather. I've tried to not put myself on camera for several weeks now. I lost 11 pounds in like 2 days with the flu a couple weekends ago or last weekend or whatever it was. And just been way under the weather. It's been rough. So I haven't been on camera. So I hope you're enjoying this. This is just absolutely glorious. Another present I want to give out is to you in the audience.
Santa Claus is coming to town.
I appreciate you being out there and supporting us. That means a lot to me. If you could go down to that subscribe button, make sure you hit that. I know I keep saying that. I'm sorry for sounding like a broken record. It does not cost you any money to subscribe to this channel. But the more subscribers I have, the more YouTube will pick up on this channel and actually promote it. And at some point, it would be really nice, I'm just being honest, to be able to monetize this channel. But in order to do that, I need 1,000 subscribers. I've been stuck at 52. So, got a long ways to go yet. Go down there, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're liking these videos. YouTube loves that. Go down to the comment section, participate. Go down there. I said earlier I want to do a poll. Go down there in the comment section. Not only go down there and let us know who you are giving your lumps of coal to and who you're giving your presents to, go down there and let us know what you think about possibly changing the way that the playoffs are determined between the head-to-head matchups and the points both counting. To me, like I said, that solves a lot of problems. It takes a little bit more of the luck out of the equation, which is fantastic. So go down there and do that. But thank you so much for watching these. So huge present to you guys. Thank you so much. Couldn't do it without you. Another present that I want to give is to all of my guests that have been on the show. So starting with Joe. He's been on the show. Mm-hmm. Dave Leeper's been on the show. Mm-hmm. Jordan's been on the show. Carly's been on the show. Elisa's been on the show. You guys have been on the show. Jason's been on the show. So a huge shout out to all of the guests that have come on here. Whether it's Christmas tree side chats like today, bar side chats like we did last time I was here, fireside chats. Thank you so much. I would much rather produce videos like this where it's conversation based and we're talking and having that conversation. It's not as awkward as me just droning on and giving a lecture every week. I don't like that. This is more of what I pictured. If we ever get a chance to monetize this channel, it's not to become wealthy. I would like to take that money, reinvest it into actually creating a nice studio, really good camera equipment, really good sound equipment, really good lighting equipment, produce higher quality videos, some better editing software. So that's in the works for this channel. I mean, we're already starting to buy new equipment. You see, we got the nicer microphones and whatnot. So I do want to give out one final gift. It's a huge gift, a huge thank you to somebody. So before I do, if you have any more that you want to give, I want to save this one for last because there's somebody out there that's really done quite a bit to help me. Actually, 2 people.
Can I give a lump of coal?
You sure can.
Yeah, absolutely.
To Jim Irsay.
To Jim
Sorry,
Irsay.
sorry, but oh my gosh, stop talking about the Washington Commanders. You have your own problems.
They do.
Deal with your problems. Yes, I understand if Dan Snyder, and please God, let him sell the team. Maybe. Because Lord knows who's going to be the new owner. Yeah. But I understand that the NFL owners have to vote on the sell of the team, and it has to be, I think it's 25 owners have to approve or say to vote him out is how it works. But I swear, I just looked. There was another report about Jim Irsay and the Washington Commanders. And Jerry Jones was in that conversation too. Lord help me.
Well,
here's your lump of coal, Jim Irsay. Deal with your team.
And to piggyback off that, I'm a diehard Colts fan. I'm wearing Bengals stuff right now because this is the house team. I do have to give some shout-outs to... I'm a Colts fan. Teresa's a Commanders fan. My son TJ is a Dolphins fan. And my 5-year-old daughter, of all the teams, this is probably the most Ava team she could have picked. Of all teams, she is a Jets fan. Now, I'm sure, they're young. This may or may not change as they get older. But we have Colts, we have Commanders. We have Dolphins, we have Jets. Now, one thing we will agree on, the Bengals, that's the house team. Yep. That's the one that we all support. We're not bandwagon fans. I'm telling you that right now. But being a Colts fan, yes, I agree with you 100%. I was going to give out a lump of coal to Jim Irsay, but I was going to wait until you did because I had a feeling you were going to. And yes, as much as I like Jeff Saturday, one of the best offensive linemen the Colts have ever had, do you remember what my reaction to you was when you first told me about Jeff Saturday? What did I say?
I can't repeat it on this channel.
Maybe he's drunk again? I'll repeat it.
He's had some issues with that in the past.
Yeah, and I like Jim Irsay, but he's just making promises and saying a lot of stuff right now that he's just not keeping or backing up. And The Colts have become the laughingstock of the AFC South. It's not Houston. It's the Colts right now. And as much as I hate to say it, I don't think it's going to be getting better anytime soon. I would like to say it will be getting better. But last year, if you remember correctly, if you're a Colts fan, Jim Irsay guaranteed at least 2 championships in the next decade. Not off to a good start. Not off to a good start, Jim.
Well, what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. What have they done at the quarterback position? They just keep recycling through these veterans. At some point. Now, listen, I'm going to say, I'm a huge Colts fan too. I'm equally a Bears fan and a Colts fan. Northwest Indiana, roughly halfway between both. The thing about Irsay is, I appreciate his candor, but don't talk about somebody else's unmade bed while your bedroom's already torn up too.
Yeah.
I guess that it just doesn't taste right. It doesn't feel right.
No,
There's just something wrong about it. So, yeah, I get it. I get it.
Okay.
All right. Anything else before I wrap us up?
No.
Nope.
Okay. All right, so 2 big presents. First off, Joe, I want to give you a present. Thank you for hooking us up with some awesome equipment, giving us a platform, an opportunity to do these things. So, Joe, here's a present for you.
Santa Claus is coming to town. Gather round.
ADP Media himself. So, in case you guys don't know, Joe has been one of my financial backers. He's the one that's put all this together. He's taking care of a lot of the tech side of it. I do a lot of my own editing now, but in the beginning, Joe did all the editing for me, hooked us up with the equipment. He's the one behind the scenes that's really kind of helped make this happen. So, huge present to Joe for helping me make this dream come true. And the second present I want to give is a huge present and a huge thank you to Jason Bunger. So,
Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee, Rocky Top, Tennessee.
So if you've been watching this channel, I've had Jason on here in the fireside chats. At one point, we were stuck around 20 to 25 subscribers. Jason got on the phone with a lot of his friends, went out and made phone calls to try to get people to come out and subscribe to this channel and like this channel. Jason and I've also gone out to the Book of Faces, and we have live streamed a couple times. And we live streamed for the entire Pac-12 championship game a couple Fridays ago. That was fantastic. But we've done more than that. Jason came to my house, to my home studio, and we live streamed. Jason has been a driving factor behind doubling my subscribers, going out and asking his friends, hey, this guy is really awesome. Go out and support what he's trying to do. So thank you, Joe, for all your support in getting this done. And Jason, thank you so much for the drive, trying to push this channel and really promote it. I think we got something pretty special going on here. I'm excited to see what happens. New Year's resolution, I want to be at 1,000 subscribers next year. I want to be able to monetize this channel so we can put that money back into this channel, get this channel to really go, have nice equipment, fantastic sound, fantastic cameras. Not that what we have right now is bad, but man, how nice would it be if we really had the gear, had the setup, had the editing tools. All that stuff costs money. We're not there yet. We're still newbies. We're working on it.
We're working on it.
But so thank you to everybody that's made this happen. Joe, Jason, all my guests that have come on the show, all of you out there in the tube of views land watching this and doing the likes, doing the subscribes, making the comments, interacting with the channel. Really appreciate it. Go down, make your voice be heard. This is your chance. The channel's still small, so you can go down there in the comment section. You can make comments. You don't have to worry about getting one of those huge social media beefs that people get on Facebook. Yeah. It's not like that. We don't have that many viewers. Go down there, have fun with this channel, interact. If you want to be a guest on this channel, reach out to me and let me know. This is already my second trip to Ohio just this year for fantasy football. Of course, it doesn't hurt that I come down and just want to see you guys any chance I get anyway.
Exactly.
I'm actually here for work. Got a couple mortgage closings in Dayton, Ohio. So one today, one tomorrow. You guys were gracious enough to host me for the evening. We had to take advantage of this. Thank you people so much for that. So But yeah, if you want to be on this channel, reach out to me. Let me know. We'll get you on here. At some point, we are going to be able to live stream. We are over 50 subscribers. If you want to be a part of the live stream, let me know. We are starting to live stream more often on Facebook. It is really easy for me to invite you in. I know with Jason, we did a 3-way live chat with me, him, and a buddy of his. That was absolutely fantastic. If you want to be a part of something like that, that'd be great. Might be kind of fun to start doing those on Sunday mornings where we're live streaming updates on injuries, any kind of last minute thoughts that we have going into. We're getting to the end of this season, so probably we'll do that next year. But if you have ideas on what we can do, what kind of content you want us to produce that we're not producing now, go down there too and let us know. Right?
Sounds good.
All right. I like to get these two on this channel on a regular basis. I like to have them both on here weekly. And we can only make that happen if we can do it remotely.
Yep.
So let's make it happen, Captain. All right, folks. I think that's it.
That's it.
All right. Hey, Merry Christmas. I'll talk to you again before then, but we got the tree in the background. Can't resist it. I'm a huge Christmas guy. All right, folks. Until next time.
See ya.